alright?
Yes, Tom.
There's another baby coming!
Billy!
Wanda, push! Push!
Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you've had a chance to see Wandavision Episode 3. This is going to be my deeper video on the new X-Men mutant characters that they just introduced in the House of M alternate reality that they're playing out on the show, and what this means for Marvel Phase 4 and X-Men mutant characters in the MCU going forward. If you're brand new to the channel, I'm doing videos for all the new WandaVision episodes, the other Marvel Disney Plus series that are coming up this year, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. Be sure to subscribe to get all those. We're also doing a Disney Plus giveaway for memberships. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave all your theories about what they're going to do with the Wiccan and Speed characters going forward in future Marvel projects. Careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on WandaVision so far if you haven't seen any of the episodes, but during WandaVision Episode 3, Scarlet Witch gives birth to her twin children from the comics, Billy and Tommy, Wiccan and Speed. There are several reasons why that's a huge deal. WandaVision isn't just meant to set up Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, and Spider-Man 3, Spider-Verse, but Kevin Feige also confirmed recently that WandaVision is also meant to help set up the new Marvel X-Men movies and mutants in the MCU through their House of M storyline and some other stuff that'll become more apparent in future episodes. That includes a lot of unannounced big projects like Young Avengers that they haven't officially talked about yet, but that clearly seem like they're setting up with all these different Marvel Disney Plus series and the younger teenage characters. But mutants overall are coming to the MCU and the Marvel movies in a number of different ways and twists, so WandaVision and the two new twins are just one of those ways. And I know a lot of you are asking, is Scarlet Witch a mutant in the MCU? Does that make Quicksilver a mutant? Because technically they'd be the first mutants in the MCU, not Wiccan and Speed. Marvel's been back and forth on that. Previously, they haven't said anything about it because of the Fox rights situation with the term mutant. They couldn't use the term while Fox still had the rights to the X-Men characters. Now they can do whatever they want to. They can call anybody a mutant that they want to. But back when they still had that rights issue, there was some canonical tie-in material that presented Scarlet Witch as a mutant, or Quicksilver as well, technically because they're both twins, as mutants in the MCU, saying that the Mind Stone merely unlocked their latent abilities. They'll get into that in future episodes too, like we just got the big Quicksilver name drop during Episode 3. Finally mentioned Quicksilver again in the MCU, haven't talked about Pietro since Avengers Age of Ultron.
I had a brother. His name was Pietro.
He was killed by Ultron, wasn't he?
I know a lot of you are hoping to see him show up on the series, a lot of people expecting a big twist, hoping that Evan Peters, Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies, actually shows up instead. We'll continue to see more Easter eggs for that stuff, so we'll just wait and see what kind of big WTF moments they reveal with Quicksilver stuff. But if you're not a big comic book reader, they've confirmed that the WandaVision series is adapting a few major comic books and then just borrowing smaller bits from a bunch of others. The two major ones, and this was confirmed by Paul Bettany recently, are X-Men House of M, pretty obvious there, and Tom King's Vision Run, also pretty obvious from the plot so far. You probably spotted most of those Easter eggs pretty early on. But during the House of M Scarlet Witch storyline, she gets sick with grief and mentally unstable, creates this alternate reality with her powers where she can escape her problems, just like the Hydra soap commercial, Calgon, take me away to the House of M, where mutants are in the majority and regular people are in the minority. And during the Tom King Vision Run, Vision on his own, separately, just moves into the suburbs and creates a family of androids for himself, literally builds himself a family, attempting to live a normal 1950s looking life, like you saw in the first couple of episodes. As you would expect, neither one of those storylines ends well for anyone. Then there are a lot of Easter eggs in the series for a number of smaller comics, like Vision and Scarlet Witch's mini-series where she gave birth to their twins for the first time. And there'll be a lot of other comic books that they reference in future episodes I'll point out as we go along. But those are just the biggest ones. The whole thing about Scarlet Witch's children, Wiccan and Speed, though, is that in the comics, originally, they weren't real. They were revealed to be soul shards of Mephisto, and he reabsorbed them into his body. Because Vision was an android, he couldn't technically have children, as you would expect. It was just one of the many occasions that they used to drive Scarlet Witch crazy, where she unleashes her power, she loses control of her powers and becomes a bit of a villain briefly. Kind of like you saw her go all Thanos on Monica Rambeau during Episode 3. You took everything from me, but also, I don't even know who you are. The versions of Wiccan and Speed that most people know from the comics, from the Young Avengers comics, are actually revealed as reincarnations of Scarlet Witch's original children, the ones that wound up being soul shards. And that was Marvel's way of sort of combining the classic story with the modern story, because they introduced Wiccan and Speed during the Young Avengers comics and then wanted to make them twins and make them Scarlet Witch's children. So if Mephisto originally reabsorbed them as soul shards, how could these ones be their children? Well, because they're reincarnations of the souls of her original children. Don't worry, the Wandavision TV show will have a vastly simplified version of Billy and Tommy's storylines. But as we've seen the last couple of episodes, they have that creepy chant for the children. Everything is for those little boys and girls. And also during the first few episodes, we've noticed that the strange things that have manifested are really just manifestations of Scarlet Witch's subconscious. That last scene from episode 3 is meant to clarify that. The reason that Agatha Harkness, or Agnes, whatever you want to call her, is tiptoeing around and she's so afraid, upsetting Scarlet Witch so much that she punts her out of the bubbled alternate reality of Westview, just like she did to Monica Rambeau. I know there are a lot of questions about what's going on with Agnes. There is a lot of other stuff happening with that part of the storyline I'll talk about in future episodes. She's one of the most important characters on the series. But based on the way that Scarlet Witch is controlling everything and everyone, forcing them to play out her fantasy of these different sitcoms and decades, it's implied that she really wanted to have a family with Vision, like the Tom King Vision run, get married, have a house in the suburbs, have children, just like a totally normal, average nuclear family. I know people are thinking about Children of the Atom nuclear family because that's a big X-Men storyline as well too. But when everyone is creepily chanting for the children, despite the fact that there's no children anywhere in the neighborhood until she gets pregnant, the reason why they're doing that is probably because subconsciously she's using her god-tier powers in this reality to make them do that. Like she's thinking about having children, she wants to have children, so that sort of manifests in all the other townspeople. They're also chanting about doing things, creating a good environment for children. Then every once in a while, you notice that something happens, there's like a big bang or an explosion or something weird happens, and it shakes them out of her control, and they realize what's happening, like, wait a minute, where am I? What's going on? Who are you? What are you doing here? Till she snaps them back, and they go back to whatever their normal personality is within the different decades. If there's any confusion about that, the townspeople in Westview are real people who are just trapped inside there like they lived in Westview before she came along. In early theory, Scarlet Witch just went to this suburban town, selected it, and maybe with the help of someone else like Agnes, maybe Mephisto, Nightmare, someone else, she created this alternate reality around it to do basically what the Hydra soap commercial was talking about. The Calgon parody, Calgon, take me away from my problems. She went to a fantasy land, created a fantasy land where she could avoid all her real MCU world problems. So her getting pregnant, giving birth within the span of 30 minutes wouldn't be possible in the normal MCU dimension, but because she can alter reality like comic book Scarlet Witch inside this place, like she's a god, she essentially created her two mutant children, and they're fake, just like the originals in the comics. Here's the thing though, as we saw with Monica Rambeau in episode 3, Monica's clothing, her personality kind of changed along with the rest of the towns when Scarlet Witch subconsciously changed everything from the 1960s to be in the 1970s and in color. And when she gets punted out back to the normal MCU universe, she's still wearing those 1970s clothes Scarlet Witch created out of nothing. The things that she created out of nothing inside that alternate dimension stuck. So I think that's the little clue or teaser Marvel is giving us that both Billy and Tommy, Wiccan and Speed, will be able to continue existing in the normal MCU once this fake alternate TV reality crumbles, just like the House of M reality crumbled. The first twin who's born, Tommy, is the Speed character. He has powers just like Quicksilver, super speed as you would expect. Billy, the second twin, is Wiccan. He has magic and reality warping powers just like Scarlet Witch. So I know a lot of you have wondered if maybe it was actually Wiccan, for instance, inside her womb that was making everything go crazy during the episode, because she didn't seem like she knew exactly what was happening. There were a couple reasons why, though. Scarlet Witch seems like she's mentally out to lunch about a lot of things during the episodes. Like, a lot of this is her drinking her own Kool-Aid when clearly she knows what's going on. Like when she kicks Monica Rambeau out after she starts talking about Quicksilver and Ultron, she knows exactly what's happening and where she is. Like, what are you doing here inside my fantasy? Get the hell out of here. But then in other scenes, it seems like she has no idea what's going on. So I think at various times, because of her fluctuating mental level of health, her mental state, she's sort of drinking her own Kool-Aid and just living out the lie, letting herself believe the lie. But the answer to all the weird stuff, I think, is a combination of both Scarlet Witch losing control of her powers in combination with Wiccan's powers in the womb starting to manifest. So yes, Wiccan and Speed inside her womb were partially responsible for some of the stuff that was going on. The joke about Tommy, Speed, is that he was born first because he's got super speed. So of course he'd shoot out first. We will see a lot more scenes of the twins using their powers in future episodes as they get older though. One of the biggest sitcom tropes is how they deal with children misbehaving, but because this is WandaVision, it's a Marvel show, it's about what happens and how the parents deal when two super-powered mutant children do bad stuff or go off the rails. But a lot of you have also realized that the whole reason for this Westview alternate reality to play out so quickly through each of the decades, the accelerated timeline, is because, as they say, for the children, like they keep chanting during episode 2, it's all about aging the children up super quickly so that they can use them in future Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5 projects, like the long-rumored Young Avengers series. During Marvel Phase 4, there are already, or they will introduce, the vast majority of the entire original comic book Young Avengers team. So just like Kevin Feige said, WandaVision will help set up a lot of other stuff in addition to X-Men, Mutants, Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 3. Young Avengers is just one of the things on those lists. The other big connections WandaVision has to setting up Mutants and X-Men stuff going forward in the MCU is through the multiverse plot. That's a huge deal during Marvel Phase 4, just multiverse in general as a storytelling trope. So if it sounds like it's going to get really confusing with a lot of the continuity and blending a lot of the old Fox movies with the new MCU movies, don't worry, that's what characters like Deadpool are for calling out a lot of the inconsistencies. These timelines, so confusing, just cleaning up all the timelines. So hopefully that explains what's going on with Wiccan and Speed's characters and how this relates to new X-Men mutant stuff happening in Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5. My WandaVision Episode 4 video will post next Friday, but I'll probably be doing some more bonus videos before then. Leave all your requests or your big questions in the comments below. Congratulations, John Tadak, you're the giveaway winner from my last big WandaVision video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for my full WandaVision Episode 3 video, and click here for that WandaVision Avengers Endgame deleted post-credit scene. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.